Welcome to AdmissionsQuest Boarding School Podcast. In part 2 of our conversation with Josh Clark of Hawai'i Preparatory Academy, Josh talks about the college admission process and the advantages the school offers. Josh, let's transition to college admission. It's clearly an area of concern and focus for so many students and parents, and I'm sure it's something you're asked about regularly. Tell me about the advantages that Hawai'i Preparatory Academy offers in this process.
Absolutely. There's one thing that as I've been here, one thing that I've noticed is that there is a strategic advantage to coming to HPA as far as college admissions is concerned. And I'll explain it this way. Most boarding schools, they give you the opportunity to take advanced classes, to give you these experiences to prepare you for college. But once you submit that application to the college, really the boarding school kind of recedes into the background because the college is looking at the student and the sum of the experiences the student has had at the school. But they don't look at the school anymore. We actually are a little bit different in that sense, and we're actually still involved in the equation. First and foremost, just like every boarding school, in fact, you'll notice if you go to a lot of boarding school websites, they talk about the diversity of their student body and how many students they have from every state or how many states they have represented at their campus as well as how many countries. Universities do the exact same thing. Hawaii is one of those, I don't want to call it a sexy state, but it's at least a little bit more of a, there's more of an advantage for universities to want to get students from Hawaii because it's a little bit more rare to have students coming from there. So they list Hawaii very much. They actively recruit in Hawaii. There's a handful of high schools, when they come out here, they'll hit, and HPA is one of those that they go to. The advantage of being in Hawaii is that, first and foremost, the dean of admission or the director of admission gets to choose where they travel, and they're certainly not going to travel to a lot of places that you can think of in the winter, but they come here. And the advantage for us is directors of admission or deans of admission tend to stay in their position much, much longer. There's more turnover for the assistant directors or the associate directors. The directors tend to stay there. So we can build long-term relationships with the biggest dog in the fight in that sense. So when they're making their decisions in the spring and they have one more space and two people have a kid they're looking at and the director has one and the assistant director has another, odds are you're benefited by actually knowing the director of admission, by personally meeting the director when they come out here to visit. In addition to that, what we found is that, and this is, I can't give a guarantee that this happens all the time, but when we have actually talked to colleges and we've said, who reads these files when they're coming out of HPA? Because we have students that come from the mainland US, we have students that are international as well, and one of the advantages is that they say, if it's an international student or a student that's coming from Texas or another state on the mainland, they'll have someone read that file from that who covers that geographic region, but they'll also still have the Hawaii person, the person that covers the state of Hawaii or the western states or however they break it up will also read it, which gives them the added advantage of if only the international person reads your file, then you're put in with all the other international students. But once you pull your file out of that pile and put it in with the Hawaii pile, that's going to give you the edge because you're now separated from the others and they're going to look at you a little bit more closely. And we found that it doesn't matter if you grew up in Hawaii and attended HPA or if you came from the mainland US or even an international student, we found that college matriculation is actually pretty strong. And one of the things that we benefit from because of our location is schools want to come here. We have on average 60 to 70 different universities visit us. Some will come every year, some will come every other year. As an example, this past year, over the past 70 that came, I'll just mention a few of them that have come to visit. Barnard, Bates, Boston University, Carnegie Mellon, Colby, Colgate, University of Colorado, Columbia University, Cornell, Dartmouth, George Washington, Harvard, Harvey Mudd, Lewis and Clark, MIT, University of Miami, Middlebury, Northeastern, Notre Dame, Stanford, USC, Vanderbilt, Wesleyan, and the list goes on. And this last Parents' Weekend, actually, this past October, Boston University and USC were the two universities that were there to present to our parents. So we have a wide variety of universities that actually come to visit, and our college matriculation list also reflects that same advantage. We have students that go all over, and they go to some very, very, very competitive universities, whether it's in art, or in technology, or strong state universities, or small liberal arts colleges, or Ivy Leagues. Our students go pretty much everywhere.
Well, it sounds like that list is well represented. Yeah, I mean, you've got schools from all over the country with a strong group of them from the Northeast. I can see the appeal for an admission director wanting to visit Hawaii during the winter months and during the recruiting season.
Absolutely, and our students benefit because, for example, one example I can give is we actually had a student who was looking at Notre Dame, was accepted, went there, and during her freshman year, in the spring of her freshman year, she was with a group of friends, and they were walking across the lawn, and the dean of admission walked up, called her by name, talked to her for about a minute or two, and then kept walking. He didn't recognize anyone else in there, and he only knew her because she had visited with him when he was on our campus a year earlier, and so he remembered her from a year prior. Because of his association with Hawaii and his memories of Hawaii, anyone that you think of that you visited there also kind of comes up pretty quickly, and that was impressive to her that he still remembered her after a year.